All right, everyone. Welcome to the Takehouse. This is James. Tonight we're with Jake. Jake, say hi.
What's happening, everybody?
Tonight we'll be talking Myles Garrett, the Browns, the Ravens, Phillip Rivers, and a couple other things. We're going to start right off the top, though. We're going to start with the biggest thing that happened in the last 2 weeks. And we're talking about Myles Garrett using a helmet like a club and smashing Mason Radolph's
What
brains
a
out.
wild animal.
What was your reaction when you first saw it? Like, how did that make you feel watching that footage the
So
first
I
time you
watched
saw
it
it?
live,
No.
and it was woof. I said, "Holy shit!" He just swung his helmet at that man. But before we get too in depth in it, I do want to say that I'm surprised that Mason Rudolph didn't get suspended himself. I thought that he heavily instigated it. Um, yeah, Garrett did hit him with a late hit for sure, but he was trying to rip his helmet off like the whole time they're on the ground, and they stood up. That's why Garrett went for his helmet and ripped it off. Now, if he would have just stopped there, ripped his helmet off, and called it a day, and like, haha, sucker, got your helmet, like, he gotten maybe a game or something, or just a really fat fine. But then he just, ooh, he swings it like he's a Viking, dude. Like it's a war hammer. He's coming for that melon. It was it was a scary thing, dude. There's no place for that in football.
No,
And
there's a place. It was intentional and violent, and we're okay with that in some context. But when it's outside, there's a very strong line that most people feel, and you can see people sort of defending it because it's like, well, Mason started it. But I think we all agree that you can't take someone's helmet off their head and then smash them with it. We all, I
yeah,
think, are on the same page, and that's very rare in football. So it's kind of fun to see. But I also agree with your Mason Rudolph point that Mason should have been suspended a game because he instigated much of it. And when I first watched the footage, it looked like his glove got caught or it was something strange like that. Like I wasn't really sure what he was doing, but no one has said anything about that, which leads me to believe that that wasn't the case. That he was actually ripping Myles' helmet off, but just like passes, he couldn't get it done. So unfortunately, then he just chased the guy around though because Myles did what he couldn't. Myles is a much bigger man, and he just ripped that thing right off his head. And then he just went after him and just started barking at him. And even as a Steelers fan, I'm like, that guy deserves that suspension for sure. Like, give him a game too, because what you can't do is like he was trying to do what Myles successfully did. Now the second thing Myles did was really bad, but ripping someone's helmet off is still something you shouldn't encourage either. And trying to is something you shouldn't encourage. So part of that should be suspending Mason Rudolph because what his actions and a lot of it was very childish.
yeah, I agree. I agree.
But so now we're looking forward because the Browns were confidently winning that game, and now the Browns are looking at 4-6. They've got their
Third in their division.
third in their division, um, but because they're in the
Two
AFC,
win streak though. 2 win streak. They
you
are in the AFC.
if
They're
they
pretty far out of the playoff picture. It's looking pretty ugly for them, to be honest.
it's looking pretty bad so far. But I mean, they're confidently going to surpass the Steelers at some point here, so they will become second in their division.
They
Let's.
play the Dolphins next. So that's like a free game, and they play the Steelers again.
Mm-hmm.
And then they still have two. Wow. Oh wow. Okay, so their finishing schedule. They have
It's
one
very
tough game. It's
simple.
against. Yeah, it's against the Ravens. That's their only tough game. I could see them winning. I could see them winning 5 of their last 6 games. I really could. I could see them going 9-7.
So
But does that sneak them into the playoffs?
9-7 would be tough. I think the Patriots would surpass that. 9-7 was my prediction for Bills, if you remember correctly.
Yeah,
Um,
but you're wrong.
I'm not wrong yet. They're seven and
Seven
three.
and three. They're looking
Yeah,
good.
they're looking good, but they're gonna be looking 9-7. So
They're about to be 8-3 after this weekend.
I think
So you better.
the Chiefs
Oof.
will keep winning. The Raiders will keep winning. The Ravens will keep winning. The Steelers will not keep winning. The Colts and the Texans will keep
You don't think they
winning.
beat the Bengals next week?
Who?
the Steelers. That's who they play next week.
Well, they will win some games, but they're not going to win more than 9. So they're just behind the Browns is essentially what I'm pushing them to, because they can't keep it up. Mason Rudolph, I really liked him at the beginning of the year, and I was like, maybe, because I know he was kind of prone to just reading one side of the field, and he was a 4-year in college, which doesn't happen too much. But I sold myself on him for a week after he did pretty well in immediate backup, and then it's just his willingness to throw down the field every week diminishes just a little bit more.
So what you're trying to say, James, is he's no Daniel Jones.
He's no Daniel Jones. In fact, he's no nobody. It's really awful right now, and the Steelers will be drafting a quarterback next year at some point. There's no way around it because Mason Rudolph.
You don't think they go get Andy Dalton?
So the Steelers don't go get quarterbacks typically.
Yeah,
they do
they
every
draft
once in
them.
a while, but they usually draft their guys. So I think they'll probably do that again. That's usually the recipe, especially if Big Ben is doing one more year. They'll grab a guy, put him behind Big Ben for the year, let Big Ben do his thing, and then the year after that, the starter.
What the Giants should have done with Daniel Jones, you mean?
Yes. Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe not, though. He's getting a lot of experience out there. He's playing some good football.
Yeah.
He's just fumbling the ball up.
Just fumbling, but I mean, yeah, he's getting experience as long as that experience isn't detrimental, and it doesn't seem like he's not getting tore up. So I guess it is.
I just hope it doesn't mess up his psyche from losing.
But he's playing well through the losing, so I think
he is playing winning football. So you're right.
I think he'll be okay. This isn't one of those situations. Sometimes, when people want to put quarterbacks in really bad situations right away, I'm usually totally against it because I'm like, yeah, even if he's the number 1 pick, this team is awful. Why don't you just tank again for another year? Just match him up with an LT or something, but don't put the guy out there and let him get sacked 50 times and make him
by LT you mean left tackle?
Yeah, get him something else. Get him another piece and then go full speed ahead. But to just throw him out there with no help and watch him get destroyed it's so stupid. Or just
if we can slide Solder, I know this sounds a little crazy, but if we could put him in a center, I feel like he's done on the left side. He gets beat pretty badly. He's almost as bad as Eric Flowers was.
Yeah.
And that's embarrassing.
All right, so we've divided from the Browns, but I think we both agreed the likelihood of them making the playoffs is very slim. The window's there for them to have a winning record, but realistically,
I guess the way I see it is, do you realistically see them? I think the Texans are definitely going to make the playoffs. The Chiefs are definitely going to make the playoffs. The Ravens and the Patriots. Those are my 4 safe picks, I think.
Okay.
And then I think the Bills do too. So then the Colts would be the next seed. Are they better than the Colts? No. Are they better than the Raiders? No. I don't even know if the Browns are better than the Jaguars.
Not better. They're not better than any of the good teams, but fortunately they don't play any of the good teams, and they are very good against bad teams. Or they are at least, they look good. For some reason when they play bad teams, you're like, oh, that's nice. Look at this. Hunt's doing things, Chubb's doing things. Oh, first drive of the game, OBJ's got a big pass. You're like, yeah, this is cool. And then they play a good team and they get fucking destroyed. It's incredible. It's absolutely.
It is pretty magical.
Oh, so
how about them Niners, by the way? They did lose to Seattle, but it was a damn good game.
No, they still lost though. So
whatever.
I just nailed that one, didn't I?
Whatever.
All right. So we're gonna move on now. We're gonna talk about Lamar Jackson. After Lamar Jackson is killing it. Lamar Jackson is odds-on MVP at this point. I don't think there's any doubt about it. I've been saying that for a few weeks now, but I keep watching the promos talk about Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers. Every week there's someone besides Lamar. But Lamar is now doing this against teams that are good and have those good quarterbacks. He beat out Deshaun Watson pretty good last week. He beat out Tom Brady.
Their next 3 games are tough too, dude. They got Rams, Niners, Bills.
Yep.
Woo!
And the Rams are that team that we don't want to admit is very bad yet, but I think they're probably right in the middle. So they could lose that game easily or they could win it easily.
Rams are 6-4. I don't think they're bad. I think
They're
they didn't.
sputtering right now.
Yeah,
So
the Super Bowl was very interesting.
the 49ers, and I don't think Jimmy G is at all that. I'm not sure he's that good yet, and I
I
think
can't believe you're still on that bullshit
the
train. He
that
is
the
the man.
49ers are just. I think they're overachieving a little bit, and they're going to crash down for the rest of the year. So I think they'll beat the 49ers. They're going to beat the Bills. They're going to beat the Jets. They're going to beat the Browns. Then they're going to beat the Steelers. So realistically, I think if they get past the Rams, and I'll give you the Niners, because the Niners are, again, I think in the same neighborhood the Rams are, where they could just win any game or lose any game. Anything past that is a win. So when they hit this last 4 games, Lamar Jackson against the Jets is going to be the best thing you've ever seen, and everyone should really pay attention to that.
I mean, he's gonna slap around on the Browns too.
Yeah, he's going to go nuts. So if you were ever like, you wanted to sell yourself, if you're not a mobile
Who are the
quarterback
Ravens
person,
two losses to this year? They lost to the Patriots. And who?
the
Who are they
Ravens,
lost? Yeah, they lost to the Patriots and who?
no, they lost to the Chiefs and the Browns.
Oh yeah, they beat the Patriots. That's right.
Yep, they beat the Patriots. So,
They lost to the Chiefs and the Browns. They lost to the Browns early, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is, I think they just soundly beat the Browns, but maybe the Browns get some momentum because their schedule's shit too. So it could really.
They just lost like the one of the best defensive pass rushers in football. I don't think that they're gonna do. I don't think they're gaining momentum from that.
No, not from
Maybe.
that, but from wins you can.
Sure, but
If you go on a 4-game losing streak, yeah, Myles Garrett sucks to lose, but you're on a 4-game winning streak. At that point, I think your mind is firmly towards just winning your next game.
they've won 2 in a row right now, I think.
So as they gain speed against these bad teams, it's possible they just get rolling. But yeah, I would say he's number 1 on MVP. So what would your list look like, and how do you see the rest of this season playing out? Like, what's your list now, and what do you think your list is going to be at the end of the season?
I mean, I agree with you. I think he's unanimous. He is magical. I do think they end up probably, at worst 12-4. I think Russell Wilson is, if it's not gonna be Lamar. It's got to be Russell, right? He's playing some very, very good football. I'm impressed with how well he's led the Seahawks. I mean, he's got a good supporting cast and whatnot, but then honestly, I throw in C-Mac there. Christian McCaffrey. I think that's probably my top 3. I think that's probably how it finishes at the end of the year too. Probably Lamar, Russell, and C-Mac.
I would really like to see Christian McCaffrey like a part of that, or even if Lamar were for some reason just play badly for the rest of the year, Christian McCaffrey would be my I hope number 1 pick for MVP, just because I hate how much people dismiss like running backs and in every other position except quarterback when we speak about MVPs. It drives me nuts. I think it's such a bore to me. It's not the best quarterback of the year. It's the most valuable player to your team. And no, the 2 guys who are there are 3 in the conversation. Patrick Mahomes is still up there, but Lamar Jackson and CMC are 1 and 2. I just like Russell Wilson has played good or really great. He's played really great, but CMC has just played at like an all-time level.
He's phenomenal.
And Lamar Jackson is also playing at an all-time level. So I think they're just a tier up from where Russell Wilson is. So I would really like if he got a little.
I think that's a
MVP.
bummer, though, to be fair, because I mean Russell's been doing it for so long, and he's been so good for so long that I think he's almost like Drew Brees in that aspect, where people just overlook the greatness.
Oh no, he's
because
great.
Somebody else is being great for a year.
Well, he's great. He's not breaking records though. He's not doing things we've never seen before. He's just playing great football, which we can all appreciate. But he's not doing what Lamar Jackson's going to break the rushing record set by Michael Vick for the most rushing yards in a season by a quarterback, and CMC might break the all-purpose yards, or scrimmage yards record total. Like those are all-time things. I think those just notch themselves up a little bit.
Yeah, I suppose.
All right, so let's talk about Phillip Rivers next. Let's move on to old Phillip. And there's a couple things. First we wanted to talk and we wanted to debate this fourth one because your initial idea for this conversation was you wanted to talk about the decline of Phillip Rivers. And I said, that's nuts. I didn't see him as declining at
Well,
all. So,
to be fair, my initial talk was more of I wanted to talk about the '04 class and how it's been a rough year for them all, but we centered on Phillip Rivers because he's the only one playing.
yeah.
Um,
And then
and yeah, go ahead.
I know he's having a rough year when we discuss wins, but I mean, personally, for a quarterback, he seems to be playing pretty good.
I mean, he's got yards, sure,
He's got those
but
yards.
he's got 15 touchdowns to 14 picks.
Mm-hmm.
Yikes.
Yep.
I mean, he does have the 3,100 yards. They've got a pretty iffy record. Like they're definitely not playing well. 4-7 is not well.
No, no. But
And they've been pretty healthy.
mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I think he threw 4 picks last night or the other night.
Mm-hmm.
So that's tough to watch, man. And he didn't look good throwing those picks. I'll tell you that.
No,
Those picks weren't like, oh geez, really nice play by the cornerback. It was like, oh damn, Phillip, you threw it right to him.
it's quite possible that was the game that was the breaking point. It's quite possible because that actually is what happens to these older quarterbacks is they light it up for a while and then they just start to do this a little bit towards the end of the season. So
Yeah, where they just kind of fall off a cliff.
yeah, so it's quite possible. Drew Brees statistically last year for the latter part of the season fell off for all intents and purposes, and people weren't sure if he was going to be the same this year, but he has been playing pretty good football. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't think. Have you heard the Phillip Rivers to Tennessee rumors? And do you, if we entertain this, is that a good fit? How do you see that working out?
Phillip Rivers to Tennessee. I have not heard those.
Okay, so Phillip Rivers is, I guess, what we're hearing now is Phillip Rivers is tempted to play for Tennessee next year. He didn't sign a contract in the offseason with the Chargers, so he will be a free agent this year. And we're hearing Tennessee is the favorite and that he would love to play there. So keep that in mind. I know you haven't heard it, but what's your immediate reaction then to that news? What kind of team did that make Tennessee, like with obviously free agency and things are going to happen, but if Phillip Rivers joins that team with the current A.J. Brown, Corey Davis, Delaney Walker, you've got Derrick Henry, Dion Lewis, how good is that team with Phillip Rivers?
My immediate reaction is I just picked up Ryan Tannehill in fantasy because he's killing it in Tennessee. So I don't know why they do that. I mean, is Phillip Rivers really an upgrade over Ryan Tannehill right now? Like,
Yes.
yes, he's. I mean, no, he's not playing better. Like, he's got the legacy. Awesome. That doesn't mean shit. Like, he's got to actually show up and produce. And Tannehill's playing the best football of his career.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't. And he's way older than Tannehill, like a lot, like 9 years older or something. So I don't know. I think yes, they probably would do it, right? Because it'd be kind of like a strong veteran presence that would probably give the youth of the team like something to lean on. And he's been in some pretty big moments in his career, so there's that. But I don't think it makes him better. If that's the question. If the question is, are the Tennessee Titans better if they pick up Phillip Rivers in the offseason and go into next year with him as their starting quarterback than with Tannehill? No, I think the answer is no. I think at best they're the same as they are right now, as they are with Tannehill. But you have an older quarterback who is at best playing with you for the next year or two.
I would say I see it as it's such a win for that team, like to have, because Ryan Tannehill is playing really well right now, and it's possible he carries this on. But we are talking about this a little prematurely when we're trying to predict his play. But if Ryan Tannehill starts playing like Ryan Tannehill, then Phillip Rivers is just a gigantic upgrade for a team with such like one of the best young receiving cores in Corey Davis and AJ Brown. Like,
Yeah, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, right? Like, yeah, Rivers has definitely produced. Uh, I guess maybe I'm just a little bit worried that he has hit the end of the road. But like, if he finishes this year out strong, then yeah, he's a sizable upgrade to Ryan. I guess I'll retract what I'm saying. If he finishes the year well, if Rivers doesn't drown before the end of the year, then yes, I would. Yeah, definitely you want to take him in Tennessee.
it would be, imagine being, you're Corey Davis right now, and you started the year with Marcus fucking Mariota, and then now you're on Ryan Tannehill, who's a little bit better, but next year you could be playing with Philip Rivers, old 4K Philip Rivers, good for like 4,000 yards every goddamn year. Oh man, that feels so good, man. That would feel so good. I would be so
Yeah, but he's
happy.
got to still be that Rivers that makes those throws and shit.
Yeah, but I mean,
He didn't look like that Rivers lately.
well, he didn't look like that Rivers last night, but before that game, he had only thrown 10 picks in 10 games. So that's pretty good. Like
I mean,
that's service.
what about getting Eli instead of Rivers?
Eli,
Oh,
I
he's rested the whole year.
I mean, he has rested the whole
He's
year,
been
and
chilling, dude.
I do think there's a team that probably takes a chance on him, but
I do too.
I think the Philip Rivers Tennessee, like, because they're already entertaining it a little bit. Like, we haven't really heard anything from Eli, and I don't think we will. But he's probably would be really, really selective. And I'm
It's got to be like absolutely good chance of winning the Super Bowl, or he's not gonna do it.
exactly like that team's gonna have to be set up. I don't think like, and I think Philip
It'd have to
Rivers
be
is
somebody
more
like the
willing.
Rams.
Yeah, I think Philip Rivers is gonna be more willing to take on a challenge like Tennessee. I think he's
Yeah,
just
I
better
agree.
suited for something like that. Where Eli is gonna have to take over a team that is so fucking close. Like maybe like Jimmy G goes
Just
down
like Peyton
for
did.
the 49ers, or just like it's something like that. Yeah, he's gonna be looking to like finish out with one. So I'd be really interesting to see what he does by the end of the year as well. So let's go on to the next. We're going to go on to the last thing we wanted to talk about. So David Johnson for the last few weeks has not shown up. Let's say he is not the David Johnson of old. He is. I don't even know who David Johnson of old was, because for the majority of his career, he has actually not done those things.
Yeah,
So
honestly, he's kind of a nobody who had. He reminds me, we discussed this a little bit before we came on of who we could try to compare him to. We struggled with like analogies that felt like we were doing him justice, but I think we didn't really need to do him justice because of how much of a one-hit wonder he's been. He's been very much like a Peyton Hillis, like a Trent Richardson. But they
mm-hmm.
had really good years and then some mediocreness around them, but they were incredible for that one year. I mean, sure, David Johnson's been a little bit better than, a one-hit wonder,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean, he's really just had that one nasty 2,000 yards from
2016.
scrimmage. And 2016 yards from scrimmage. Like that's really good. But what's he done since?
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, he wanted to break
not shit.
2000. He must have gotten close. I can't remember. He had 1,239 rushing yards, 879 receiving. So he did break 2,000. Yeah, so that was a very, very good year. 2018, he got 940 yards and 446 receiving yards. So there was a little bit of something there. And we assumed that the offense was just being run so poorly that he just wasn't, something was up. But I think maybe these injuries keep hitting him in his lower extremities. Just they get hurt all the time, and for a running
Yeah,
back,
I
that's a
mean,
really big deal. And I think they're
he
starting to
played
catch up to him.
he played every game last year, but he didn't rush for 1,000 yards.
No,
He ran for 940. So like that regular old running back to me, man. That kind of shit happens every year.
mm-hmm.
That's nothing nuts, dude. Like, I I think people sleep on so many other running backs, and they're so high on David Johnson. Like he gets drafted in fantasy leagues really high and shit like that, and
He was a first round pick for some people this year.
he's yeah, and I really just feel like, man, what did he did one good year. That's it. Devontae Freeman, he had a bunch of good years. People are like David Johnson's better. What? Crazy talk.
David
David Johnson had
Johnson.
one good year, better than Joe Mixon. What? That's a really good young player. Like that's crazy.
Yeah, and Johnson's ceiling is very, very high, undoubtedly, but I think we've seen it. I think we saw it, and I think we're back down there.
Yeah, I'm not sold on him. I think he's pretty.
And he's 20. I think he's 28 now, 27, 28, 29. He's
Yeah,
in
I
that age
mean,
now.
Kenyon Drake is looking like he's gonna run Arizona. He's so excited to be able to play on a team that utilizes him properly and show everybody how awful Miami is and how they didn't know how to properly utilize their talent.
The Dolphins are morons. Every year, Kenyon Drake balled out, and every year they sat him. Like first year they drafted him, he I can't remember. I think he cut the wrong gap. He did something. I can't remember what the story was, but they sat him, even though he broke it for a 20-yard touchdown. Like it's just been really silly shit for him over there in Miami, and it's really unfortunate because every time he touched the ball that first year and even that second year, like he won that game against the Patriots,
The
and then
Patriots, yeah, that
continued
was
to
one.
get no run after that. Frank Gore got all the touches last year. So I feel I'm happy for Kenyon Drake. I'm glad he's found his footing. I think he's going to be really, really good for the Cardinals, especially with Kyler Murray there, because Kenyon Drake's a really good player. He's
Yeah.
really quick. He's really fast.
David Johnson's about to be 28, by the way.
Yeah. Kenyon Drake is what? I think he's 24, 25.
I think 20. Double check.
He's been in for
25.
This is his third year now, so it's
This is his fourth year.
fourth year in. So
Yeah.
it's gonna be amazing to watch him like flourish in a place that's actually gonna utilize him correctly. And David Johnson, I think, is just a veteran back that ends up on a team next year that needs a running back.
Yeah. Is his contract up after this year?
I just don't think they would keep him, even if it's
True.
not. I mean, because what is his current contract? I'm actually very curious. I didn't think about this before we started, so great podcasting here. But I'm gonna look up the David Johnson contract here. On September 8th, 2018, it's a year ago, Johnson signed a 3-year, $39 million contract extension with the Cardinals with $30 million guaranteed. So he cashed in.
Ooh, he cashed in on that one good year.
He's a
What
smart
a
man.
sleazeball.
Well, he had that one good year and then he broke his leg. So when he came back, they were like,
Did he break his leg? I thought he broke his hand.
"No,
Or like his wrist.
no, he like broke his leg, man." Right?
Did he? I thought he broke his wrist. 2017. Let's see.
Oh, I wish we had this before. We should have done more research, but now we know.
Injured left knee. Yeah, the injury looked very serious. Ended up only being an MCL.
But yeah, it's that's a pretty decent contract for a backup running back, and I'm all for paying running backs. I think they're more important than people want to give them credit for. But backup quarterbacks can't be getting $10 million, or backup running backs can't be making $10 million. They can't.
It was a wrist.
So he's just probably going to be done. My guess would be by next year. I don't think you see him on the Cardinals anymore. I think he rotates to a place that would like a receiving back and is willing to give him a chance.
Somewhere like Philadelphia, something like that.
Yeah, someone looking for a veteran piece that, like the final piece of something. Maybe I can't even think of a place off the top of my head. Honestly, I'm not really sure.
Philly feels good. Houston. Yeah,
Well,
you know,
Myles
Houston's always looking
Sanders
for
is
a running
already
back.
Myles Sanders is already so good that I don't think they're gonna want to give receiving touches to David Johnson. So yeah, Houston actually might be a place for him if they don't re-sign Hyde. Hyde's had a good year though, so I'd be curious to see what they do with that.
And they do also have Johnson out there.
Yeah, Duke Johnson Jr. Yeah,
Duke Johnson.
but they're not utilizing him much anyway. It's the same thing.
No,
Poor
nobody
guy.
does.
Yeah, poor guy.
Yeah.
See, he should be on the Eagles because the Eagles actually use receiving backs, and
He reminds me so much of Darren Sproles.
yeah, he could be so much better, but no one wants to use him. It's unfortunate. All right, so I think we're done. Those with everything. So I want to thank everyone for stopping by. I want to thank Jake for participating, and we will see you guys next week. Thank you.
Thanks for stopping by, guys.